Welcome everyone to the Dunlop Motorcycle Tire Track Walk. I'm Lurch and I'm happy to be back along with Broc Lover. You obviously know who he is. It's fun to do the bookend. I missed some in between, but I got the first one and the last one of the 2022 season, and it's going to be a good one.
Oh, it's fantastic. I can't believe we've done 17 of these track walks, and I want to thank everybody for tuning in and kind of sticking with us through the thick and thin. And we had some guest hosts all the way. I remember we had the contest between Carson Brown and Josh Hill, and then we had
Ryan Villapoto.
Ryan Villapoto, Anaheim 3. We had Joseph, who also helped, Joseph Allen.
Rob Bidas.
Yep, Rob Bidas at Daytona. Adam Entenap has helped us many, many times. And he was really actually going to join us today, but he fell down, kind of damaged
no
his
good.
ribs.
No
good. Yeah, he was racing in the Pulp MX Privateer Championship earlier today, and he's not feeling it right now. He's trying to get ready so he can be healthy tomorrow. So.
And it's a great way to bring so many different perspectives. We've been at 17 different tracks, and to get that many different perspectives on the track. I got to say, Salt Lake City, one of my favorite races, and I'm going to tell a story. Let's talk about the start first, and then I'll get in the story. We got plenty of time for story time.
No problem.
What's our length on this start?
Right here, we got 330 feet. It's not the longest, but it's certainly not short, considering this stadium is kind of a quaint stadium. It's the, Rice.
Quaint, you mean a small blueprint?
Yeah, smaller blueprint college football stadium. But you know what? This facility, truly, the Salt Lake City and this area has become the riders and the crew's favorite. I mean, we had that residency where we finished the Supercross season a few years ago, where we were here for 7 rounds, and everybody just fell in love with this area. It's what everybody knows about Utah and all the sporting and outdoor activities. Park City's just up the hill about 20-30 minutes, so it's just a fantastic place. So no matter what, even if it's not the biggest blueprint, everybody loves coming here. And again, this is the final round of the 2022 Monster Energy Supercross.
I was going to tell you a story, and the story comes down to the weather that can change so quickly here. I was at races that it was snowing here before.
Yep.
I was in one race, it was such a mud race. I ran across the start, my boot got stuck in some of the slop, and off went the boot, popped right off, and I stepped in it, and it was nothing but a sock and a pile of mud. And I looked at my partner and I go, it's going to be a long night. It's going to be a long night. But they're not going to be the longest lap times.
No, it isn't. This is this whole track layout's about 1,680 feet, which isn't terribly short, isn't terribly long. It's it's not something like one of the motor speedways that we've had in Atlanta or some of these tracks, but the layout is lending itself to a little bit quicker times. We've seen somewhere in the low to mid 40s, so it's going to be a lot of laps in the main event. Probably going to see some lapping, obviously, so the blue flag is going to be out, and the lappers could come into play. But here we come around the first corner. It's a nice
bit of a flat track sort of turn.
I like that trend. I mean, lately they've had a lot of flat corners. I prefer those, absolutely. The riders came through. We saw start earlier today, and with the Privateer Challenge, so we saw how it lays out. Pretty clean start.
Now, from this perspective, this looks really poppy, short, peaky. This looks more like a plateau on this side, and we're guys doing different things off the start here.
Yeah, Shane, you can go take a look right here. You can see, yes, the Dirtworks crew right here on this start. We're coming up over a berm that's used every lap, and this start's only used for this berm and this jump. The backside is only used on the start.
One timer.
So the inside of this is a little more peaked. Down here is a little, for the wider riders, stay a little lower. So the hot line is, of course, to come inside as the start and drift your way out, get a little drive on the downside here. Otherwise, when you come off on the inside here, if you look, Shane, you're gonna drop off and just literally, it's a drop away. This, you might be able to get the rear wheel on the ground a little sooner, pop this single, and then clear right behind it the large, tall one there.
And usually we see a lot of action in the start, but this one here, it's one straightaway, and then we're starting to crisscross back across the start. It's going to be interesting. You got this. You got this.
Almost slipped in. I tried to take a good line. That's the one thing. We've got a lot of water on this track, and we're going to try to stay upright. Because
probably not going to happen for me. I'm just going to be honest.
We're going to be able to tell the boot story and falling down story. But here, again, popping off of this, single that, and then the riders you're going to see behind it, they're going to get a run.
Much like that.
Boy, it's actually muddier than we thought.
That's all right.
So this single right here at the bottom, they're going to be jumping over the top of the tabletop there and then doubling into the Dunlop bowl corner in the far distance there. So the track was actually a lot of fun to watch, and I can't wait. We also have the Supercross Futures, right?
Yes.
So we've got the Supercross Future Finals here. So all the best future riders coming together at the same location. And
the shootout.
we also have the 250 East-West shootout. So got to see one of those already this year, and everybody's wanting to see it again. And we still have the Supercross Championship on the line, and see if Christian Craig can win that.
So this is what we were talking about as far as the quick turnaround. It's going to be that left-handed Dunlop bull turn. Literally one double out of that, and it's going to be a hard right. That's when they're going to cut across the start. There we go. I got it.
Yeah,
I got it.
Exactly. And if we're going to cut across here too, because you might be able to hear a little of the audio there, but it is more slippery than we ever guessed it would be. But it's trying to stay upright here if we can. It is some slimy dirt, no question about it. So Shane, right here, as we come out of here, out of this Dunlop bull corner, into this quick double, and the riders are taking different lines, and they're also trying to get maybe a little tighter angle to the inside. Not too many riders were going all the way out, hitting that berm, because that berm, as you can see, is almost 90 degrees to the corner.
This is almost like a neighborhood picnic, better known as the block party.
Yes.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff in this corner here. Just by the way it's lining up. Guy goes to the outside, somebody's going to try to clip him off early.
Exactly, and we're also going to be wondering if the riders here, this is something the riders have to be really careful about, not clipping the edge of this tough block here as you're coming down. If you're only 6 inches off to the right, you catch that tough block, it's going to throw you out right into the outside here and throw you on your head is what it's going to do.
Now, I believe the total track length was 1685. If
yeah,
I'm
about that's close. Yep, within a foot or so. Yep. And so yeah, it's again back across the starting line now into what's has been for the 2022 season. It's kind of the one track feature that has been, I guess defining and talked about the most. And you can see right here, they're just doing some little bit of cleanup, but we're right into a long set of whoops here. It's about 12, 13 of them right in a row. They're very firm, getting hard packed, as you can see. Skid steer right here working on the face of this, but right here you can see how hard packed this is. And this dirt right here, if you can see this, this is marbly. These are just all the loose soil breaking away from the other parts. That gets on top of that hard pack.
Yeah, it could be some traction issues.
We got some guys coming over to the truck.
Are they so hard you think we'll see blue groove in by the end of the night?
I think there'll be some spots.
Once they water it tonight, it's going to take some moisture.
There'll be some spots that are going to get some blue groove in it, but it's pretty. They're going to be coming over to the Dunlop truck. Hey, do you got anything that has? Do you have a tire that sticks on marbles on hard pack? Yeah, I don't think so. But the point is, it's going to be some tough traction conditions. But most of the top guys that we saw, especially the privateer ones, Kyle Chisholm won that running a Dunlop, thank goodness. And he was getting through the whoops really, really well. That was one of his strongest areas. He got through them quite well, as was Ryan Brees and some of the top runners. So,
I was looking at Dirtworks' Instagram page. This place was not the greatest. There was a lot of water. They had a little bit of snowfall earlier in the week, and this one turned into a very fast turnaround as far as the track build. Like, let's say normally they start on a Monday. I think they were a day short. So all this has taken place in 1 day less time by Dirtworks. And I think it came together really well so far.
Yeah, absolutely. I stayed up into the area during this week, and there was snowfall, and the Dirtworks crew had to work around some inclement weather, and they did lose a day, like you said, but they got a great job. They've already got a fantastic track ready to race today. So that was a
Broc, question about something. With these being probably more hard pack, we're not getting much absorption when we put our foot in. Do you think the rider's going to make any kind of suspension changes just for this, or is it going to be pretty standard settings, you think?
That's a good question, and some of them might, who knows, they could soften the rear a little bit, try to keep the bike down a little bit. It just depends on what kind of drive they're getting through. We're also up at elevation. The bikes aren't running quite as strong as they were, but they're used to it because they raced the previous race was in Denver. So this is actually a little bit lower. Salt Lake City's a little bit lower elevation than Denver. So they're kind of used to it. If they're, even if their bodies aren't acclimated, their bikes, they should know how to make them work pretty good.
Now,
but this section here, I was going to say, this section right here ended up being a very important part of the Pulp MX Privateer Championship. Ryan Brees had worked his way into second around Kevin Morantz. and he got a little whiskey through here coming through this whoops a little bit fast, shot up the face of that berm right there and just about took himself out by where the WPS tough block is.
Oof.
He gathered himself, but it was just enough of a mistake to allow Kevin to sneak back underneath him.
I'm seeing some heavy footprints in that.
Yeah.
I say we go around this one.
I think we are going to, but yeah, it's again very muddy. Our shoes are not something we want to walk into mom's house with, that's for sure.
And it's only muddy right now. They're going to get good water absorption.
Yep.
They'll probably maybe even put a little bit more down in some sections that they had some drying out, that they almost got a pre-test with the race earlier today. Obviously a lot of traffic on the track tomorrow with the East-West Shootout and also the Futures class. It's going to see a lot of action. And 40-second lap times, that means they're going to be going round and round a lot more.
Exactly. They're going to be doing probably 27, 28 laps for the 450 main event. A lot of riders work, on the track. But one of the reason I'm stopping right here, earlier in the day, this developed when the riders were landing. As soon as they would land right at this point, for some reason, this little area had like a sinkhole. And I'm sure when they put the dirt in, this little area was soft. I'm guessing it's going to dry out, but all the riders were primarily using this one small 2 to 3 foot wide area because it sets you up for the inside in the next corner. So they were drifting out here and getting a nice wide radius corner here. But this got so nasty that we actually saw a rider in practice when he landed on the edge of it. It flipped him over the handlebars. Wow. And I don't think too many riders, you just don't see that very often. And so to have somebody actually almost do an endo for hitting that bump, just landing off of what's kind of a routine jump for these riders, was a strange occurrence.
I'm going to get your take on this.
Okay.
Obviously, we're doing timed main events, 20 plus one for the 450s. The finish line is about a half a track away once they start. In the old school, do you think that would have counted as lap one, or would they have to do a lap and a half to get that first one?
Sometimes if it was too close to the start, they didn't count that lap and you had to go all the way around because it wasn't even close, like if it was less than half a lap, It usually didn't count. Here on the other situation, it's a timed race plus one lap, so it doesn't, it doesn't come into play. But on a personal level, I'd like to see the 250s go back to like 15 laps, and then the main event for the 450s just to be set at about 25 laps or something if they want to see them ride a little bit longer.
Right.
It's just with this time situation, the tracks, sometimes you just only have so much footprint that they can work with on the track, and to have 26, 27 laps, and sometimes the 250s going 21, the track, there's nothing the Dirtworks track crew can do to keep it together when you have that many bikes on the track.
Absolutely.
It's just very hard for them. So again, they're going to come off of this jump right here. They're going to land. The top guys were doing, this was a rhythm section here that, you have 7 of them in a row before you go to the big triple.
What were the numbers they were coming up with?
They were doing a mixture of things. Some of them, or most of the guys, were riding through the inside here, kind of rolling this, or, if they got the radius right, they would hit it and do a double. But it just depends if they got that corner right. So if you got a double, oh God almighty. We're gonna be okay, folks. Thank you. This is some
and remember, if you guys have any questions, I think we're able to take those.
Yes, or if we could. So here, you come over, double, and then the top guys were popping 3, but it just depends. Some guys are gonna do 1, 2, and then 3, or 2, another 2, or 2, 3, 2. It's just, this is a really well-designed section is really what I'm trying to get at. I love the fact that it can
forgiving in a sense.
Well, what I like more than anything is you can go off rhythm. And so if a track does develop a little bit of ruts, or if you're trying to pass somebody and they don't get the best drive out of there, you can mix it up. And you don't have to always, everybody's not doing the cookie cutter, 2, 3, 2 or whatever. So love this section. Good job on the Dirtworks part. So yeah, we're gonna work our way down here. Shane, sorry for cutting in front of you, but we don't need to hit the deck here. It's plenty slippery enough even in the middles here, but this will all absorb in. We're shooting this 5:30, 6 o'clock in the evening on this Friday. This water and the moisture will sit all night long and absorb into the dirt. And it's actually a situation where last week in Denver, it was just a little bit different kind of style of dirt. This dirt is a lot better for absorbing moisture. The dirt in Denver, for some reason, just it set on top of it and would not go down into the base.
That greasy top feel?
It was just almost very hard packed dirt, and it just didn't get, the moisture could not penetrate. So again, this section here, going through the fly racing triple, work our way into the rock.
Rider mentality question for you.
Yes.
2 championships are finished up. If you're on the East Coast or you're in the 450 class, are riders just like, hey, I'm going to go out there and do that? Or are they still everything they got, even though a championship is still not up for grabs?
Well, what we have is some motivation there. Obviously, most people know by now, Eli Tomac, our champion, hurt his MCL in his knee. He is not riding, taking the luxury of when you wrap up a championship like that, to be able to take a weekend off. It's not like he's giving up by any means.
Right.
He's getting ready for the outdoors, and he knows every week, 2 weeks of, like, he doesn't have to practice on that sore knee. You know, his doctors have told him 4 to 6 weeks to heal naturally. That operation, that's what he's looking for.
Absolutely.
But on the other hand, if you're Jason Anderson, do you want to keep your win streak going?
Absolutely.
Of course you do.
Absolutely.
And 3rd place, we've got a total, that's wide open.
Yep, absolutely.
And we've got a bunch of riders there that would love to say they got 3rd place in the championship.
Yes.
You got Justin Barcia, Marvin Muskin, and of course, Malcolm Stewart. So those riders want 3rd place. So you're going to see that's the race within the race. Jason Anderson wanting to keep his win streak going, and Marvin Muskin, Malcolm Stewart, and Justin Barcia wanting to make sure that
they can lock up that 3rd.
Exactly, they can wrap up that 3rd. So this was another fun section here. We had guys coming out of that corner, and I thought when I first saw this, they would just be double and then possibly triple. I wasn't certain what they would do. No, of course, 450s.
Triple.
Oh, just, yeah, no problem. Just hit 60 horsepower of instant throttle. Boom, pop this right here to this distance, right out of that tight. They have no run, and they're still popping the triple.
And horsepower is a little lower here in Salt Lake.
Yeah, and they just, they made it look easy.
Yeah, sometimes you got to spur the aluminum pony.
I know, they were spurring it all right, and it was responding. So yeah, it was fun to watch, and they were popping this no problem. And something kind of, you know, fun and new here. The sand pit, we're coming up on it.
Sand's new?
Yeah, well, they just, this here at Salt Lake, to get that nice big sand pit in there was a lot of fun to see. And the top riders that we saw in that privateer challenge, and also we got to watch some of the riders in press day today. But it was really a lot of fun where they were popping it off and launching off the jump well into this sand section here. So they were getting a good run, and we're gonna.
Now, is this a dirt base under the second one? That low roller that we're seeing in front of it, or is this full sand?
It's pretty much, there is some dirt under this one, but in general, this was pretty darn soft here. And
so look for this to change throughout the night.
Yeah, it should be, and they've got it packed down pretty good right now, but this will change. And what really changed is once they were landing off of this, some riders early were going to the inside right here, but as the race went on, from where Shane's standing back there, most of the top guys were jumping that as a double and coming up to here, and then using a little bit of an outside berm, because you talked earlier about blue groove. This section coming out onto this start got pretty blue groove. Even though the dirt's darker, it didn't really get that blue color we talk about for the tires, but it got real hard packed there. So if you could get your bike turned early and get a run down earlier, you could get to the inside of the next rider as they head backwards down the starting line. So we're now in the entrance of the first corner, but we're going counter direction of what the first, of what the starting line would be, as you can see down here. So it's interesting. This section of the track gets used once in direction towards us, and the rest of the time it gets to the direction we're walking right now. So another little interesting layout here.
I don't mean to sound confused, but where does it go from here?
I know, you just jumped off of an airplane. What'd you come from, another bass fishing tournament?
I did. Major League Fishing had stage 4, so
okay.
I was there.
Well,
Lake of the Ozarks, and it rained every single day, but that's okay.
Okay,
that's
so
okay.
yeah, so here when you're coming down here, this is what I was telling you, this track layout, when you're first looking on paper, it was a little bit confusing. So
I got it now.
Yep, right here, super sharp right-hand corner. We saw some good stuffing right here, trust me. It wasn't Thanksgiving turkey stuffing, it was even better than that.
Now, how much are they squaring this to stay tight along this inside run, or are they just naturally letting that momentum and inertia carry them out?
Yeah, that's what I was saying in that previous corner, that when they would square it up on the outside and pivot the bike, they could get a pretty strong straight line run where you're accelerating at full throttle on those, especially
and
the
taking off the
450s.
inside opportunity
And
for somebody else.
Exactly. Guarding your inside, coming in here and keeping a nice tight berm shot there so you can't let somebody get underneath you. Other people, once they'd come out, if you were doing that, the other riders were coming the inside, drifting to the outside.
And then trying to take your inside line.
Or, like as you drift past here, they could try to come underneath you.
Yeah.
So this corner, I'd probably rank it number 1 or number 2 on the track for stuffing.
Stuffing or passing opportunities? Yes.
One and the same. Yes. Yes.
Thanksgiving may come early, you're going to see some stuffing.
Exactly.
Folks.
So I really do look for some strong passing opportunities here, to be politically correct. But I love it. We got to have that in Supercross, right? If you're not rubbing, you don't come back with a few tire marks on your white boots or whatever, you're missing opportunity, or that wasn't real racing. So that's a pretty basic jump here. But the interesting part about this one is this high obstacle, if you can still hear me up here, this is kind of the decider. If you go really tight on the inside on that small, maybe 2 to 3 footer, you roll it, then you double off to this. If you go wide, you don't have enough run off of that berm and the very small takeoff. I've not seen anybody triple this, and I don't think you will.
Are they wheel tapping and then getting the third?
I haven't seen that either yet. Can they? I don't know. It's a pretty good shot, but it wouldn't, these guys amaze me all the time. Maybe you could see a wheel tap, but it's either a 2-1 or a 1-2 right now. We'll see what happens, but that's nice. It gives, again, it mixes it up. Great design by the Dirtworks crew, coming up with something that makes every rider do something a little bit different. Nobody wants the cookie cutter. So here, coming into a pretty strong 180, and you may recall we talked about this right off the bat of the start.
They didn't forget tough blocks. That's where the start jumps over the top of them.
Well, that is where the start jumps off there, right there. So I'm looking forward to a great night of racing. And
17 rounds.
I can't
It went
believe
fast. It went fast.
It did really fast. And I appreciate, again, everybody that logged in and watched and checked out the track walk. We appreciate it. Hope to be back next year in 2023. And gosh, we've got a championship on the line, and we've got, again, 3rd place. Can Jason Anderson keep his streak running? 3rd place in the 450 class.
It's going to be interesting.
It's a big difference between 3rd place and not being on that podium in the overall series. So again, thank you everybody for tuning in, and where can they follow you on your bass fishing ventures?
Well, my Instagram is LurchMC. That's my Instagram account. That's the one I use most of the time. But sometimes you guys do have questions. I know you're really good at getting back to some of the fans that post questions and comments on stuff once it gets posted. So
absolutely.
And you can always shoot at Ride Dunlop.
Ride Dunlop, or at MX Golden Boy is my personal Instagram account, and I do kind of go on Facebook once in a while. So if you have questions, or let us know. And hey, again, thank you everybody for tuning into the Dunlop Motorcycle Tires Track Walk.